say this though, shouldn't a great player be able to elevate, go guys around him? I think some of those guys at the top, that were able to elevate their teams, their bad teams, to great positions. That is the reason why maybe a guy who was on a bad team was great. But like, I'm gonna give you an example. Tracy McGrady never made it out the first round, but we all know Tracy McGrady, top 75, probably
talent. He's a top 75 talent.
But he wasn't able to get past the first round. You could put Tracy above a whole lot of guys. If we're talking about straight eye test.
Yeah, you could go Tracy, you can go Grant Hill, but unfortunately, just the nature of the beast, the nature of the game, those guys got hurt, so they weren't able to complete that list. Okay,
but
well,
even in his
unfortunately,
prime, Tracy McGrady still couldn't make it past the first round.
But who's to say though, if he wouldn't have got hurt, that he wouldn't have eventually, got over that hill?
But that's what I'm saying. He had enough time to get over the hill. Houston, Orlando. He just couldn't do it. Like, I don't know how else to say. Like, I love Tracy. Don't get me wrong. Tracy McGrady, I'm a big fan. The first number I wore in select ball was number 1 because of you. So
let's look at the organizations that he played for. He played for Toronto, obviously. Those were his rookie years. We won't even judge him off of that. Let's go to Orlando with the Magic. How was that organization? Do you feel that they put the right pieces around him? Remember, that was the time that him and Grant Hill got hurt. That's not his fault.
Yeah.
He goes from Orlando. He goes to the Rockets.
Houston, no, he should have made it out.
He pairs up with Yao Ming.
Yeah.
Where did he go? I think the farthest he went was second round.
Nope, he didn't get out first.
I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
You're right. I mean, in the sense, I'm a big Tracy fan. That's why I said talent. He's a top 75 talent for sure. But I do think injuries.
You could put him in the player though. I mean, talent-wise, you could put him in as a talent, but that's not what we're judging off of.
Right.
That's why I said the guys at the top, like a Michael. What if Michael never made it, as talented as he was? I'm not saying T-Mac is Mike, but what if he never made it out the first round, still averaging 40 a game in the regular, 30, 40 a game in the regular season? We wouldn't look at Mike the same. The knock on Mike was he was a great individual talent, but he got criticized for not being able to win, not being able to make it out of certain rounds. But as soon as the 90s came and Scottie Pippen grew up, and we'll get to you in a second, Mr. Scottie Pippen's tripping anyway, Mike's legacy took a turn when he started to win. You know what I'm saying? I think the same criteria. That's why some of these older guys get frustrated with some of these younger guys like LeBron and them, because their standards, their criteria, the things that they got criticized for back in the day are not the same things that you're getting criticized now. So I don't want to take an emphasis off of winning, because that's what it's about.
For me, man, it's all about when you come to the all-time list, it's all about what you can control at the end of the day. We could talk about championships all day long, but organizations build championships. You can say certain players are supposed to elevate. Hey, B-Max, some players just ain't got it, bro. Some players just ain't got it. Jordan averaged 30 a game until Pippen came along. For whatever reason, he couldn't get it done until Pippen came along. Pippen was that guy.
Addicts, though.
That is true, but again, that goes back to my point. Unfortunate circumstances, unfortunate teams, organization, just bad placement. It's not their fault. But if you're still out there producing and you're still putting up the stats, you should be considered. You should definitely be considered. Like I say, man, it's all about, when it comes to a list, when it comes to a player's list, it's all about what you did as an individual. Not what you did necessarily as a team, what you did as an individual.
Well, you could also say, what did you do as an individual to contribute to a team? So there's a guy that might have been a great player on a bad team, but I've noticed, we just brought his name up, Kevin Love. Kevin Love was getting games, but he was averaging, not averaging, but spurts, but he was at 30 and 20, like ridiculous stats, but the Timberwolves never made it past 30 games.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But then you take a guy like LeBron, who probably could go take that same group and still bring it to the playoffs. They may not win, but he'll take them to the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? At least, or Kobe. Yeah. Like that's why I said you could be a great player on a bad team, but you got to be able to elevate that bad team. I know you bringing up stats, and I respect that, but you also got to look back at the career. Were they getting stats and losing? Because if you can get 30, but you missed that last shot, them 30 don't matter. You still lost.
Okay, we could talk about Jordan. We could talk about elevating your guys, but what about the current generation? Guys are pairing up now.
I hate that.
Guys are pairing up now. It's not even about, because you could talk about building your guys, building this guy, making this person better, which LeBron is great at. Don't get me wrong.
That's where I would say, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's where I would say the value of championships is starting to dwindle because of the new era, which guess who started that? LeBron James. But anyway.
Yeah. Hey, look, here's what I'll say. At the end of the day, it comes down to this. The NBA and whoever is making those decisions, whoever is making those lists, it comes down to this. What is your focus when you're making the list? What is your focus? Is it about championships? Is it about stats? Is it about how your team performed? Is it about how you elevated guys? We can go on and on and on and give different perspectives and different views on how a player should be judged. But it comes down to this. It's like, what are you judging? What is the criteria? What are you judging the players off at most?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, man, it's the old heads and it's championships.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, a lot of guys on that list were great all-stars, but, you know, did they make first team, second team? No, they didn't. But they were all-stars. You know what that means? That means that they were popular votes. They were popular players by the fans.
Hey, speaking of,
But if you go to first
yeah.
and second team, you look and you see these guys, oh, okay, he made 8 all-stars, but he was only first team twice. Oh, no, that guy got to go.
Let me bring up one player
Yeah.
that's kind of like that. Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller is a legend. Top two shooter of all time.
Yeah.
He got the top 3. I mean, as far as field goals made, especially. But Reggie Miller, Nick Wright actually brought up the point that he had made 3 All NBA third teams, and he also brought up the point that which I didn't know this, that the All NBA third team wasn't actually made up until like the 80s or 90s. So technically, if you put him in the earlier generations, he didn't make anything, but he's on the list.
Yeah.
Ahead of Dwight.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think Shaq put a target on his back, even though Dwight had the stats. You know, he's goofy. You know, a lot of people didn't like him. You know, Shaq made fun of him all the time. I think Shaq had maybe a big bearing on why he didn't make the list. I don't know. I think all the antics, the injuries, and all that type of stuff, which I don't think any of that really should be counted against him.
You got so many different outside voices and things that don't really matter for judging a player that seem to affect the player. Like you said, like a Shaq or somebody like that who constantly was talking down, whether it's the media, whether it's the outside voices, whether it's the narrative, the fake narrative, or if it's real or whatever.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, man, it's what did that guy do on the court?
Facts.
What did he do on the court? It does not matter.
At his peak.
What
At
exactly?
his peak, how
what
good
did he
was
do
he?
on the court, man? So, well, with that being said, B-Mac, I mean, we definitely, you know, went into it today. NBA 75. Again, guys, forget all that. We in Miami, man. I'm relaxing, man. I'm enjoying the time.